Hi, I'm Zoe McEwen from the UK Academy of Wedding and Event Planning, and today I'm chatting with one of our students, Jennie Wu, who has just finished studying our diploma in wedding and event planning. So we're going to chat to her about how the course has gone and her hopes for the future. So hi, Jennie.
Hello,
Thank you for joining us tonight.
thank you.
So we've just got a few questions I just want to run through, just things which some of our existing students might be thinking about, or some students who haven't joined us yet may be thinking, what is the course like? And maybe you can just sort of help them with some of those questions as well. And by seeing
Yeah, of
you,
course.
I think it just puts a name to a face as a real student, and me also. I'm a tutor for the academy, but because our courses are online, sometimes it's difficult for people to get a real feel for the course, who we are, and how it works.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question is about you and where you were and what you were doing before you decided to take the course.
Yes, so I was an artist manager. So I used to manage musicians and
Okay.
sometimes painters as well, but mainly musicians. So I worked in the music industry.
Okay. So where are you based? Because you're in Canada now.
Yes, but I'm based in London.
Okay. So you just travel to Canada for, is that part of your work or just?
Yes, it's part of my work. Yeah. But mainly I'm based in London. Most of my musicians are Europeans, so that's why it's easier for them to see me when they come to London. And
Okay.
most of their concerts are in Europe as well.
Right. So is that what you've always done? Did you go to college?
Yes, I went to a music college. I was a piano major student, and I went out to do like a degree on music management later on. But it's mostly been music and sometimes stage production and concert planning as well. So that's quite similar to event planning for me.
Okay. So you were doing a bit of that, you're doing your music management. So what made you think about doing the course and spreading it? Because you did the diploma in wedding and event planning as well, didn't you?
Yes. Yes. I think mainly because number one, I really like event planning and concert planning. They're quite similar in some case. I guess the main difference for me is that concert planning is about the big picture, is about 3, 4, 5,000 audience, and you have to please the whole crowd. But for me, event planning is more about the detail. And I was helping actually just a cousin of mine, her wedding a few years ago, and I realized I really like wedding planning and event planning in general. So I decided to take a course when I had the chance.
Okay. So how did you find our course and why did you choose our course?
I found the course through a reference of a friend,
Mhm.
and I just kind of browsed through all the courses available, and this was basically the one I think would be most useful to me, so I chose this course.
Okay, great. And you chose the combination, the wedding and event planning together. Is that something you were specifically looking for?
Yes, it is. I was planning on doing an event planning one first and then do a wedding planning. And then I realized there's actually a course that does both of them.
Yeah.
So I took one as a combination. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does work because there is an overlap. So
Yeah.
some of the things you'd be learning in effect twice, and you don't
Yes.
need to, there's similar things to contacting suppliers and working with venues, whether it's a wedding or an event, so that some of the skills are transferable. Um,
Mhm.
you've done the course quite quickly as well. How have you approached that, and how it hasn't taken you? How long has it taken you? Do you know?
Uh, about 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was away for a while for there was the Christmas, so I didn't really have much time to do it in that month. And I took a small break about a month ago, and that
Okay.
was kind of just my vacation. So it took about like 5 months
Hmm.
as to the time I was working. And I think for me, it's much easier once I've started to not stop and continuously work on it. Because I think once I get kind of the hang of it, it becomes much easier than if I take my time, kind of like do one per month and then finishing like a unit per month. For me, I think it's easier to kind of digest and remember if I just continuously do them one after another. Because I think the flow of the course also has its own logic if you do it kind of in one kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, because I think it's much easier that way for me. But I think maybe for other people, it might be better if they spread it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think when for you, you seem to have a real focus with it, and
Yes.
you had a vision for where you were going, and you'd already started on that path. So I think that helps. Some of our students are starting the course and really aren't sure where they're going to end up, don't really know, and they're just doing it as a way of exploring if they like the industry, which elements of it they really enjoy, and then see where that takes them. For some people, that's what they're doing, so they take a bit longer over it, and some people slow down when they get to the business setup units because they haven't got a clear vision for their business. And definitely, I remember when I was marking yours, you did have a really clear vision, and I don't know if you had that from the beginning or if that did evolve even over the few months.
I think it did develop through the time I was taking the course, because I didn't have a very specific idea. Like, I kind of knew that I want to switch more to the event planning industry, but I didn't really think about exactly what I'm going to do after I finished the course. But I think about 2/3 through the course, I really have a clear idea. And I was thinking about a business plan by the time I was completing the course. So when I saw the last project that we had to do, which is the actual business plan, it was just coming out natural for me, because I have more or less at least half of the thing I want to say. So yes.
Yeah, and it definitely felt like it fell into place. And as you've said, keeping going with that, keeping the momentum for you, kept it in your head, and kept it fresh, but also meant that you were continually working on it. So I saw from the beginning, the work, just the presentation and the styling and the branding and the awareness increase as well, because that's what we try and teach our students. It's not just physically answering the questions, or it's all about learning who you are and how you present yourself to that person, what you're going to be selling. And I think, how did that come about? How did that evolve?
I think for the styling, what I found really useful of the course is when like, usually the project part is kind of like a practical, almost kind of as if it's an actual job, or kind of like as if it's an actual project kind of thing, which I think is really helpful, because the course itself has a lot of information, and if you don't put it together, it's kind of difficult to learn it the way that you're supposed to do it in the future. And for me, the style of it, I always keep it simple, but with a lot of pictures and illustrations, because I think if I think about myself as the client, I really want to see pictures. I don't want to see a lot of words, because maybe for the people in the industry, it's fine to read the words and things, but as a client, as a normal person, you want to see the picture. You want your planner to visualize things for you. So for me, I want the background to be simple, so just black and white, but a lot of pictures. So I give my client that kind of almost taking them through the event by the pictures, because I really think that's comfortable and helpful when they see the proposals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that we do encourage students to do, because is the thing that you were talking about, is to put yourself in the place of the person that your client, or whoever it is you're presenting the information to or for, if they've asked you to present some information to them. So if you think, well, what would I like to see, and how would I best like to read it? Is it visuals? Is it lots of words? Do I need that much information? Could that information be put better in a chart or a table or something like that, so it's easy to read, much quicker? You don't need cut and paste lots of information from websites. If you want to put, just put the link of the website, but they're asking for your take on it, that they're not looking for just a repeat of something that they can find themselves, aren't they? They're wanting your expertise. But I just saw that your brand as well, and your logo and your business image developed.
Yes, I think partially the brand itself has some influence in my past career as a musician myself and a manager.
Yeah.
That for me, it's more like an entertainment kind of company that I would like to do in the future, ideally. So mainly, I still want to do concerts but with the event planning and the wedding kind of thing. Because for me, these are all kind of some sort of entertainment for my client.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It
so
can be a show, can't it, in itself, a wedding, an event.
yeah, so it's basically for me is to entertain my clients. And that's why when I thought about the branding of my future business or a company, it's really about entertaining my crowd, using the resource I have to create events that can really make them feel happy and cheerful and memorable.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way of looking at it. You're absolutely right. You know, it can be a production of any scale, can't it? The way you look at it, and certainly people want to be entertained, whatever type of event it is that you're doing. So, what did you enjoy most from the course? Did you find, you know, sections that you really loved?
Yes, I think still what I've mentioned before. I think my favorite part is actually the project part. Like it sounds quite weird because it's like the homework part of it. But for me, because when I did a few of the projects, like there was one about like doing the style of a wedding and things like that.
Yeah,
I kind of made it. I think I'm putting more effort than it was kind of required for the project, just because I actually want to use that almost as a model that I can use in the future. So I just basically save all these things, and so that in the future I can just put in the information of my actual clients. And I think for me that's the most useful part, because it's something that I can take away, keep myself, and something that I learn. So
and I think that's the course in its own way is practical in that it's getting you to create templates and questionnaires and look at actual scenarios. It's not, whilst you were very detailed in your answers and things like that, it's not asking you to produce lengthy essays that are going to be of no use to you. Everything should relate, and we like you to present it in a way that is going to be useful to you. And like you say, you can just cut and paste, change names and use it as a template. So I'm glad that, you know, you feel that works for you.
That's really helpful.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for students who are thinking of taking a course or who are taking one of our courses for how to approach it?
I think, well, for me, this is really helpful course. I think one advice I'll give for a student who haven't started the course yet is that it actually has much more information than I expected. Like for me, event planning seems to be something quite simple. I was expecting nothing too complicated, but actually taught me a lot more like detailed things that you just don't see at the front. It's kind of like those back and kind of arrangement, organization things. So I think students should leave more time for this assignment than or the whole course than they expect. Because for me, it's longer, definitely longer than I expected, with a lot of detail and with all the videos and things. So I think they should expect something like a pretty grand package, I should say.
Yeah, and I think because it's an accredited course, you know, the diplomas are a level 4 award. There is a lot of content in there, and again, it varies as to how much research you do yourself. You know, if you do a lot of research and take it very seriously and really passionate and thinking about where it is going to take you and how it can help you, then you can be really very detailed about it. And everybody approaches it slightly differently, but yeah, there's a good amount of course content, and I think you leave the course, I hope you leave the course feeling like you know you've learned everything you needed to know. And certainly if you don't and you've got any questions, your tutor is still around, and you know you can still get in touch with me, and you know that relationship is there now for forever if you need it to be.
Yeah, and I think for maybe students who are taking the course already, one advice would be taking lots of notes and make them into kind of your own little notebook or something. Because I think there's a lot of things in the course that didn't have a handout, but it's really worth putting down, because I think we would kind of forget it in the future, and it's better to take notes of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. You can print all the stuff off. It's all printable as a PDF. So when you finish your course, you have another 6 months access to everything still online.
Okay.
keep all of your stuff, obviously, all of your assignments you'll have, because they're all really useful. But I think you're right. If you make your own version of the notes, like a condensed version, then it sort of makes sense to you again when you look at it back, when it's in your own language, doesn't it? So I think that is a really good tip. But you can, as I say, you can print off sections if you want to, but you don't want to print off everything. Some of the stuff you're never going to look back at. If you've made a template of something, then the end product should be the the reference point for you. So what are you doing now? What is the future for you since you finished the course? What are you up to?
Now I'm just back in Canada for some business with the management, and I think I would probably continue still a bit with my management part, and maybe until December this year or January next year, I will shift my focus to event planning. And also because I do have a friend in London who is starting his company in event planning, and I do plan to go into the company and actually start some actual work for the things I've learned before. I think that will be pretty.
At some point you've got to put it into practice, and you might not be exactly ready now to launch. You feel like you've finished the course, but perhaps there's still some thinking to be done about how you actually
definitely
use it and access it. And things like that. And I think that that's important, that you just take your time and get that right. And now you know that probably you're on the right path, and it will evolve, and it will come right for you. And you will be looking now for opportunities to use those skills. When you meet people, you'll be like, I could maybe help with that. I could do.
Yes, exactly.
Has it given you more confidence?
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of knowledge, and that for me is the best, really, is that I want to know more, the things I don't get to see if I just go to a wedding. Like now for me, the coolest thing is that when I go to a wedding, I know exactly what, for example, how much things would cost, how much they prepare for things. And I want to kind of, when I go to a wedding, I want to almost think about these things myself. Is that when I see the flowers, I'll go, oh, that's a really cool flower arrangement. And I kind of take mental notes of things like this for myself. And I think that's very interesting for me, just personally, not even for work, because sometimes you go to these bigger events and now like kind of the way that it runs. For me, that's a really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's probably how also that you're ready to move on and to look at those things when they're starting to sort of take over, and when you're every event you're at, you're sort of thinking, oh, that could have been done a bit better, or I wonder why they choose that, or are there any of these, and you've got all of those sort of questions, rather than just relaxing and enjoying the wedding.
Yes.
Don't want to spoil that enjoyment for you. Have you got any questions for me before we finish, Jenny?
Not that I can think of.
No, that's fine. I'm very happy. The course has done its job. But as I said, I'm here. If you do have any questions, if there's anything you need, then just email or call anytime now, even though your course is finished and your access is finished. Well, your access will finish in 6 months. It might be that, in December when you're setting up, you just want to send me, you've started a blog or a website, have a look at this. We'd love to promote you and see what you're doing and keep up with you. I know you're traveling a lot, and you've got a lot of connections in different cities as well, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and works for you with your work. So congratulations on completing the course so quickly and with so much detail, and thank you very much for chatting to us tonight.
Thank you.
No problem. Right, I'll just switch off.